But really what we're asking is, can you protect your family? That's kind of like this.
The guy, robber kicks the door in at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Your kids are in bed. What do you have the freedom with a clear conscience before the Lord to do in that situation?
Right, because nobody's looking for permission to accidentally kill someone
That's
or,
right.
or to murder somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some verses, I think, generally about protecting one's family. Principles that I think the Bible is expecting a man to protect his family. In Psalm 82, now this isn't specifically talking about protecting your family, but the principles there. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. How are you supposed to deliver the needy and the weak out of the hand of the wicked? I think there's a variety of ways, but it's that protecting one's family is in view. Even in 1 Timothy 5, where it says, if anybody doesn't provide for his relatives, that person's worse than an unbeliever. What are we providing? I think it's food and shelter and protection.
The first instruction God gave the first husband and father was to provide in the garden. This was Adam, and to protect. So protection and provision go together in the responsibility God's given a man.
Right. So,
And we put locks on doors.
Oh, yeah. There's
home.
so much we do to protect our families that goes beyond violent protection. I think that's a whole picture of protecting and providing for your family. But, okay, so that instance you brought up, the if somebody breaks into your house at night, the Bible actually talks about that very scenario. In Exodus 22, it says, if a thief is found breaking in and he is struck, so the homeowner strikes him so that he dies, there should be no blood guilt for him. So they're commanded, don't kill. Even if you kill someone accidentally, you can run to these cities of refuge, but don't kill. People can kill you if you kill. And here it says, there's no blood guilt here. If someone breaks into your house at night and you strike them, but then verse 3 says, but if the sun's risen on him, then there shall be blood guilt. He shall surely pay. If he has nothing, he shall be sold for the theft. So there's two scenarios here. So a guy breaks into your house at night. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if he's there to harm your family. He says, if the homeowner kills that person, not guilty, because you didn't know what his intentions were. But if that guy breaks in during the day, it assumes you can discern what his intention is. Is he there to rob? Is he there to rape? Is he there to murder? You can discern his intentions. And, if you kill him in that instance, in the Old Testament, it says that you're guilty.
The principle, obviously the principle is there is a just killing and there's an unjust killing.
Exactly.
So the fine points of identifying the need to take that kind of action is what's probably being highlighted. And back to the locking the doors. One of my daughters has a set of double doors that lead outside, and I go in every single night and make sure it's deadbolted.
Sure.
But I don't stand there with a weapon at the foot of her bed in case somebody comes in, right? So, So common sense, but also God's saying you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
But be smart about it. You're not on a crusade to kill someone. You're not looking for an opportunity here. That's interesting.
In the New Testament, we see it. Remember when Jesus in Luke 22 says, "Y'all got a backpack? Have y'all got swords?" And they say, "We got 2." And he said, "That's good enough. That's enough." Assuming these guys are going to carry concealed weapons in order to defend themselves. And Jesus says, "Good." And so we can see that that carrying weapons for self-defense, that Jesus even is condoning it here. In the Garden of Gethsemane, you remember that whole scene.
Which is right after.
Exactly, right after that, where he says, carry swords, and he knows what's fixing to happen next, which is they're going to come to arrest Jesus, and Peter's going to whip his sword out and cut off that dude's ear, and then he says, no, stop. And you think, okay, here's Jesus who's combating self-defense. But in reality, this is Jesus laying down his life willingly. This isn't his kingdom. This isn't his time to come with the sword. He told them carry the sword for self-defense, but here he's willingly laying down his life. But he gives a little statement to Peter where he's like, anybody who lives by the sword is going to die by the sword. As in, it's easy to trust in the sword. It's easy to make that your go-to instead of trusting in the Lord. And so I think there's some warnings in the scripture too when we think about, should you carry for self-defense? Obviously there are places in the Bible where it says people are going to persecute you, and we're to endure persecution. Even that verse where it says turn the other cheek, I think is less about self-defense and more about insults.
Yeah, personal insult.
Yeah, and we talked about in the other podcast, but Wayne Grudem says, if he's talking about two men facing each other and you get a slap on your right cheek, it probably is a backhand, more of an insult than an assault. And so basically the scripture saying endure insults, endure persecution, but not all violence is persecution. There's a difference. So some warnings, I think, as far as trusting in the sword. Our weapons, whether you're carrying a Glock 19, these guys carrying a sword, whatever you carry, that's not what we put our trust and our hope in for security, for salvation. Psalm 44 says, not in my bow do I trust, nor can my sword save me, but you have saved us from our foes. It's really good. In God we have boasted continually. In Nehemiah 4, that one where he says, carry a sword, defend your family. Around that verse it says, don't be afraid. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your wives, your homes. And in verse 20 he says, in the place where you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us there. Our God will fight for us. Carry a sword. Be prepared to defend your homes. God's going to fight for us. So we're not trusting in the sword.
Yeah.
The Bible leaves pretty narrow room to defend ourselves because it is saying, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. Even don't take vengeance, don't retaliate for insults. A lot of guys have the kind of old Western idea that he insulted my honor.
Vigilante justice or honor killing
Yeah, and there's no room for that in the scripture. But literally it is protecting the weak and the needy.
I even think when we're teaching, when I'm teaching my kids about this, I'll use the illustration that if someone came up to me and demanded that I give them my wallet, I would give them my wallet.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's where Jesus even sort of addresses that. Somebody demands your cloak, give them your tunic also. Don't pull your sword out and defend yourself in that situation. So especially if it's just me, I got a bad habit of picking up hitchhikers, and I always tell, especially young people or women, don't pick up hitchhikers. But I like picking up hitchhikers because you've got a captive audience for the gospel. But if I was ever in a situation where somebody got in the truck and said, "Okay, give me your wallet," I'm not going to go for my gun. I'm going to give them my wallet. Now there may be a point where you're back. We go to the next level of now they're trying to take my life. I want to make it home to my kids. That's the other part of the conversation. But I'm not going to kill when someone is demanding something like my money, my credit card, my car.
Sure.
Somebody comes up and says, "Get out of the truck." Fine, you can have the truck. I'm not going to shoot you. Take the truck. This is an eternal soul. I don't want to take this life. In that situation, those are different situations that I think go into what you're just saying. Jesus teaches us to yield to those type situations. And he also gives us clear instruction in the scripture as you've walked through to this point to defend those that can't defend themselves, which even gets into like just war theory and cause.
And that's a lot of stuff that I think would be really interesting to get into in the next Be Strong, getting into just war and even some of the nuances of, should you personally carry a gun? Like where's your mind at? But regardless, I think the scripture does give clear instruction on can you defend yourself and when is it proper, but really with the umbrella over it being, we don't trust in weapons, we trust in the Lord.
That's good.